What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm Fantasy Baseball Caught Stealing Show. We have the continuing our ADP breakdown series today. We are looking at the third base position as we get closer and closer to opening day. We're watching some World Baseball Classic right now with the USA taking on Mexico. Should be a good matchup going on there. Fantasy Baseball Draft Guide is live and cheat sheet. You can scan that QR code right there on the screen or go to Fantasy Alarm. Click any of the Fantasy Baseball Draft Guide images or logos in the menus and you get taken to go there as well. Grande, we continue, like you said, to break down these positions. Today is third base.
Yeah, episode 5. Conveniently, that's what your third baseman is listed at, the old 5 on the diamond. It's a pretty stacked position at the top. I think after the top half of third base, it falls off pretty quickly. There's some big time names that we'll talk about later that have a ceiling, but a lot of risk to them.
Sure.
This is a top heavy position, and you can see it. Just looking at draft ADP, you got 4 players basically being drafted in the top 30, or in the top 40. I know Machado in some places is going closer to 40 than 30.
Yeah. This is based off of our composite ADP.
Yeah.
If you go to fantasyalarm.com/MLB/ADP. And again, this graphic was actually made a few days ago as well. As drafts happen, players will obviously move up and down the ADP a bit more. So as of earlier, we're recording here on Tuesday. As of like Saturday, this is kind of where these players were at with the composite ADP. And as you said, depending on your platform as well, they could be ranging up and down. On ESPN, actually, Machado's going at 26. On Fantrax, 29. At RT Sports, it's 35. His current composite ADP, as of recording, is actually 32 now, so it's dropped back a few more spots since then.
Yeah, I think there's a couple notables that I see, but let's circle back to the top. I think Jose Ramirez, we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on.
No. The most undervalued fantasy player, basically, there is, right?
Ever maybe.
Plays on like a bad Cleveland team, so you just kind of ignore him, but then he pops out with a 30-40 year.
I mean, bad
100 runs.
I don't know if we can necessarily consider them bad. They were in the ALCS 2 years ago and then won their division last year after the Tigers collapsed, right?
Well, I mean, they're offensively, they're uninspiring.
Offensively, right? They're boring. I'm just saying bad team is I think an unfair way to put it. Just because their owner hates them and doesn't spend money doesn't mean they're a bad team.
Impressive they were able to win games when their closer was intentionally losing games.
Yes, so, two pitchers intentionally throwing pitches and outcomes of games. But yes, I mean, we're talking about a guy, back-to-back seasons of at least 30 home runs and 40 steals, a guy who has played no fewer than 150 games in the last 5 seasons. He's availability, elite player. If you need a top 5 pick to draft Jose Ramirez,
and took less money to stay in Cleveland.
He wants to be in Cleveland for whatever that's worth, and why ever you would want to stay in Cleveland, that's on him. I don't live in Cleveland. The next couple names are pretty fascinating. Obviously, you have Jazz here with the multi-position eligibility. Yeah. He's an elite talent himself. Junior Caminero, I think, is a very fascinating, polarizing player because he obviously has power like few do, especially at third base. There are not many players that are gonna potentially hit 40 home runs a year. It's just obviously he's moving to a completely different environment, right? He is going from a minor league ballpark, that is what George M. Steinbrenner Field was, to the Trop, which was rated out as one of the worst offensive parks in Major League Baseball. I mean, if you just The good thing is, John, okay, here are Caminero's splits from last year, okay?
Yeah.
So he actually hit more home runs on the road than he did at home, which obviously kind of bolsters his case here. He also hit 313 at home. He hit 218 away from George Steinbrenner Field. He was 100 points different away from Steinbrenner Field. Um, his OPS was 200 points lower away from Steinbrenner Field. Now he had no luck. Batted ball luck was significantly lower, and that
Yeah.
should even out. But it just is interesting. Like usually, like this is not like a neutral move. It's a massive change going
Yeah.
from Steinbrenner to the Trop. So I mean, I do think that plays a little bit of a role. Like I'm still perfectly fine getting to Junior Caminero earlier in drafts. If I don't get him, I think any of the next like 8 guys, 7 guys, I'd be okay with too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, the power upsides there. He's still only 22. The ballparks that he plays in the division are all pretty favorable
Yes.
to power as well. Like Baltimore moved the walls in, Toronto moved the walls in, Yankee Stadium, obviously Fenway Park, huge for right-handed hitters. So, divisionally, he's in a really great spot, even if his home ballpark isn't necessarily that for him anymore, though I'm sure he can hit plenty of catwalks for some home runs with the way he hits moonshots. So, again, don't mind it for power. Obviously, you'd like to see the batting average come back up a little bit more, but everything else was pretty good for him. Where do you go next? I mean, obviously Machado, right? The Padres lineup is always kind of appealing. There's power upside for him. He has a good batting average. Riley, like the rest of Atlanta, just relatively had a down year, but you would expect maybe a bounce back. In overall production from that lineup with a healthy Ronald Acuna in that. So, what are your thoughts as we hit sort of this mid range?
Yeah, I'm good with Machado. I don't know if we get the 30. I don't know. I don't know if 30 home runs is like in the cards for Machado anymore. I know he was close the last 2 years, 29, 27.
Yeah.
He's 33, age 33 season this year. Maybe he gets to 30. I think the interesting part is he's running more the last 2 years. He's been in double digit steals. We know the RBIs are there. He's been over 90 in 5 consecutive seasons. He's been an 85 RBI or more guy every season since 2015. The only year he wasn't was a shortened 2020 COVID season. So you can basically pencil in 85 runs batted in for Machado. He's been over 100 runs 3 times in his career, basically over 80 every other year, minus 23 and 24. Super consistent at third if you end up Manny Machado. I'm a little indifferent about Austin Riley. Like, yes, the Braves did have a bad overall campaign, and you even look at some of the stuff under the hood for Austin Riley. It looks like things should get better, but if you even like dating back to, it's now been 2 consecutive years where Riley had that big breakout season in 23
Yeah.
where he almost hits 40 bombs. And then in back-to-back years, health has obviously slowed him down. He's only played 110 and 102 games.
Yeah.
But like it's been a little like the strikeout rate has ticked back up in both years. The walk rate has ticked back up. When you look at some of his other metrics, like he swung and missed a lot. He didn't
Yeah.
really square up baseballs. He was a mediocre player in terms of chase percentage. Like there was a lot of swing and miss and less walking that Austin Riley did, which his OBP during those monster 3 straight years of 30 home runs was 367, 349, 345. He then in the 2 years, after that, 322 and 309 last
Yeah.
year. Like there's been a clear shift where Riley was in his early to mid 20s to like the late 20s. And obviously, we're hoping for something. Spring training is what it is, but he's been walking at a really high clip through, like 20 at bats. But
Yeah, probably changed his approach a little bit, and you also assume like with the injuries the last couple of years, he might have been playing through some stuff, and therefore, the swing and miss and the contact rates might have gone down. But like from a power perspective, like hard hit rate, barrel rate, exit velo, all of the bat speed was 93 percentile last year. All of the stuff is pretty measurable to what he was doing during that breakout year. And if you kind of like extrapolate the numbers over like 162, the counting stats are there. The power still gives him like mid-20s and homers. It's just he hasn't been able to give you the full playing time. So I don't mind the potential for a bounce back on him here. Obviously Michael Garcia, we're a bit bullish, I think, on Kansas City this year. Another team that was snake bit for a lot of last season offensively. They move the walls in. You have Garcia there in the 60s, and then it's a couple rounds before you get to the next group.
yeah, I'm probably a fade on, just to close the Riley. I'm probably more of a fade on Riley than you. I'm probably not going to get there at that ADP. I would rather take shots on.
I mean,
The
Suarez is probably the better pick than Riley at the ADP right now, right? You get him in Cincinnati, better home ballpark. There's more consistent power there. If you were to pick one, I imagine you go Eugenio over Riley.
Yeah, I mean, I think plus like I don't know what the difference really is between Austin Riley and Alex Bregman, and one of them's being drafted
Well, I
in
mean,
some cases after 100
Riley's got more power potential.
potential, sure, but he also hasn't
We're just
really.
talking injuries, right? I mean,
Yeah, but 30. If you extrapolate over 162, if he's mid 20s, that's not 37 like it was prior
no, but
to.
I'm assuming he's not. If he's healthy, he's going to be. He has more potential to hit home runs than Alex Bregman.
Yeah, but there was a clear change in approach. He struck out more, he walked less, he was on base less the
Yeah,
last two
again, for me,
years.
I attribute a lot of that to again the team lineup itself had struggled. He could have been playing through injury, so he was pressing through and trying to like make things happen for himself. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt if he has a healthier season that some of those things translate. If we're talking fully healthy, he has 35 homer upside. I don't think Bregman has that. I think Bregman's more in the 25 range as a ceiling.
Probably not anymore because he has hit more home runs in a year than Austin
Earlier in
early in
his
his
career for
career.
sure.
I would say if you're looking at it for the upside of home runs for Austin Riley, Eugenio is a better ADP value because
Correct.
he's twice hit 49 home runs, and he is just hitting this year, right? He is
Mm-hmm.
being the take. They did the Rafi Devers. They said leave your glove at home. You don't need that here
Right.
anymore.
Right.
And I do think when you look at Eugenio, like ballpark aside, just the player, he is just a a monster in like a lot of things. Now, obviously, he leaves a lot to be desired, average in OBP,
Yeah.
but in
He's
two
there for
straight,
power.
in two, dude, but it's not like, yes, it's power. 2 straight years where he has had at least 30 home runs, 90 runs, and 100 RBI. And he's had at least 96 RBI in 3 consecutive years. I mean, the guy he has been as good, and he's always healthy. 150 games or more in 4 straight years, 145 and 5. I mean, dating back to 2016, he has not played less than 143 games in a year outside of the COVID year. That is like
Yeah.
extremely reliable. And now you're hitting behind Ellie De La Cruz, who is expected to be on base 24/7. Obviously, the Reds are hoping for, like Matt McLean leap, which they've gotten in spring training and whatnot. So I think there's a lot to like about Suarez. I do really my opinion really isn't changing on Bregman here. Like I think Bregman is a really good pick at this ADP. He's going to hit the middle top half of the Cubs lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw the power was fully on display. Obviously Park Shift isn't the best. Wrigley isn't the best ballpark to hit in, outside of when it's like windy, and when like then we know it's like obviously as good as it's gonna get. But um, man, like really good OBP guy throughout his whole career. Really good run producer, really good run scorer. Does a lot outside. Basically, does everything other than steal bases. So
Sure.
I'm very good with Bregman, Suarez. Matt Chapman was someone I was high on last year. Needs to steal more bases. We saw it 2 years ago where he's like randomly just started stealing a bunch of bases. If we can get that Chapman back again, I think that there's like serious upside. And then Noelvi is a 2020 upside guy, which
Yeah.
that is why you're drafting him there. You are hoping that he gets you 20 home runs and 20 stolen bases.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy that obviously was a very highly touted prospect, got popped for PEDs, struggled, when he came up, but he kind of had a strong second half of the year.
Yep.
Kind of lived up to what the talent was for him there. So you go next to the next grouping here. You have Jordan Westbrook, who's already hurt. You have Isaac Paredes, who we're always talking about whether or not he's going to be traded or not. You have a ton of power with Colson Montgomery. Then you got a couple of imports here with Okamoto and Murakami. Say that correctly? Okamoto?
Okamoto.
Okamoto and Murakami there between Addison Barger. What are your thoughts on that top grouping of third at the next tier?
Yeah, I mean, Westberg, they still haven't definitively given us a timeline, which is not great. He is, I mean, he's dealing with an ACL tear or UCL tear, right?
Yeah.
UCL. So like that's obviously less than ideal. We'd prefer to know, what when he's going to be back. And
Yeah.
I mean, but he's always hurt, dude. It's been a really rough start to his career, multiple years in, because he's always hurt. So I'm very much just avoiding at the ADP. The talent is undeniable, but he's just never healthy. And you could say that about a couple of guys, like Royce Lewis on this list as well, never
Chris Lewis
healthy.
got hurt again already, like a hamstring or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, Paredes, that the Carlos Correa said it. He outright said what no one else, like kind of in the organization, said. There are 5 infielders. There are 4 spots. That is just a fact, right? They have too many infielders for the amount of players or amount of spots that are available. I don't, like it helps a little bit that like Jeremy Pena is going to miss maybe a little bit of time, but it's going to be barely any time. Because they basically said like Altuve's playing second base full time, and Jordan they want to DH, and sure he'll play the outfield a little bit, and they'll mix in, but it's just not a good situation. They need to trade Paredes, or they need to trade something else, and Paredes is the most valuable. Nobody wants a 35-year-old Christian Walker at this point.
Right.
So Paredes would be the candidate to deal. Like he probably is like best suited in like best ball scenarios. Like I know he's obviously going to be taken in roto. He's obviously going to be taken in head to head. He's going to be taken in all these formats. But I just like, is it enough at his ADP of 170 where if he plays 4 times a week? Right. Let's say the Astros play 6 games a week and he's playing 4 of them, is that enough to justify the ADP? Like you're drafting a part-time player to basically fill out an everyday roster spot. So it's tough for me if he's going into unless they move on from him before the season. We talked Montgomery at shortstop, massive, massive power. You are literally talk about a one category guy at this point
Yeah.
in time. Is that's what he does. Okamoto is a really fascinating case because like they signed him and didn't re-sign Bo Bichette. Not that
Right.
they were going to fork over the amount of money annually that Bichette got from the Mets, but this is a guy that is expected to replace Bichette, not positionally, but you know, in the lineup, he has had a really, really, really good career up to this point.
Yeah, a lot of power.
Um, not not a lot, like not a ton of power. Like Murakami is like the is
Well,
like
he
the
had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons in Japan of at least 30 homers.
is
He had a
it I
40 and a
think
39 homer.
I think Murakami isn't he the one with the didn't he like break the record for home runs in the MPB? I think he hit 50 something Murakami did.
I mean, he may have, but I mean, Okamoto has had plenty of power upside.
Yeah,
So
I think there are some differencing opinions when he was
Murakami hit
originally signing
56 in
56.
2022.
There were some like differencing opinions on Okamoto when he was originally being posted, and I think like 20 home runs in like low 20s, a lot of projections are pegging him at, and I think that's like where he's going to slot in. I think he is definitely going to be a solid OBP guy. He's a very patient hitter. He doesn't strike out a lot, and that's something that they actively target. I mean, the Blue Jays literally
Yeah,
don't strike out fewer than anyone in baseball, so they just replace Bichette with another guy who doesn't strike out a lot. So, um, I'm good with Akamoto. I don't know if the power is going to translate from MPB.
sure.
I'd be more interested in Murakami if I was drafting power between he had an 80 raw power grade, 70 game power grade. You
Hmm.
do not ever see that. Like that is like very rare. He is going to have a problem striking out. That's the one thing. In his limited spring training at bats, he had a 38% strikeout rate, and that was always the kind of what they said coming over. They said that the strikeout rate was going to be high.
Yeah,
It was in the MPB. It was in spring training, and we didn't obviously spring training was cut short because he's playing for
yeah, Japan.
Japan and in the WBC. But yeah, I think Murakami is the guy more likely to hit 30 home runs between the two. So I think if I was, it depends on what you're looking for in your drafts. I think if you're looking for someone that's going to help your ratios, and help your slash. Like Okamoto is definitely the guy. Murakami is the guy if you need power and you already took an average guy earlier in the draft. I think that balances things out.
Sure.
Addison Barger, you know, obviously good for him that he started playing the outfield and ended up playing like a pretty good
Yeah,
outfield.
Statcast looked great for him last year. So
Statcast looked great. This is just one of those situations where I don't know how much regular like I think he's going to be a dominant part of the split, but we know what this team does. They have Davis Schneider, they have Miles Straw. Both of those guys will play against righties, right? We know Davis Schneider's going to play or lefties rather. We know Davis Schneider's playing against
yeah,
lefties. he just
yeah,
he might hit second, right? That they hit him second
yeah, they
against
moved
lefties
him.
at times. So I think Barger's interesting because he does have a lot of good, especially just like in the power department, and he's multi-position
Yeah.
eligible.
That
But
that lineup is good. Is conducive to run. So
yes, it's just a little obviously scary drafting platoon players. It was similar to when we were just talking about Paredes as well. Like
sure,
if Paredes is playing 4 days a week, like is that enough?
sure.
Same kind of feeling for Barger.
Yeah. Again, Royce Lewis, we know has tremendous talent. He just can't stay on the field to show it consistently. Max Muncy got eye surgery or glasses, whatever it was last year, and all of a sudden could see the baseball. Again, just getting pieces of the Dodgers lineup. He has a lot of power in that lineup as well. So some appeal there. We've talked Polanco and Caballero at other positions, but they round out this top 20 here at the third base position.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if Muncy ends up playing every day. He was horrible against lefties last year. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Hit 157 against lefties.
Sure.
This is a guy who you might, if he does play 140 games, 130 games, hits you 25 home runs. But
yeah, 850 OPS still last year, like some really good numbers overall. So
it was just alrighty. I mean, 920 OPS against righties. He had a 564 OPS against lefties. Yeah. That is,
at least it's the right side of the split, right? He'll face more righties than he will lefties.
Yeah. And just looking at their roster, I mean, they have Rojas and they have Espinal as like their Santiago Espinal as like they re-signed Kike, but he had surgery in November, and Edman also had surgery in November. So like, yes, I don't know how many at bats Muncy's going to see against lefties later in the year, and we know how good Tommy Edman is against left-handers. So
yeah, that would be the split platoon, obviously, like you said there. They get Kike and Edman, both can hit lefties. Muncy may find himself on the bench there. Polanco and Caballero, again, guys, we've talked about it at other positions here. Caballero had its stolen base upside.
Yeah.
Polanco, now part of the Mets, has some power, can drive in some runs. If we talk about the final 10 of this third base position, again, a lot of guys we've kind of hit on. Weatherholt we've talked about. You do have Alec Bohm here for Philadelphia. Caleb Durbin, new Red Sox, part of that trade for Kyle Harrison, who went out and struck out 8 the other day because Brewers just love picking up these guys from the Red Sox and have them to be able to turn into top guys like Quinn Priester. Carlos Correa, you talked about. Ernie Clement, another Toronto Blue Jay on here who hits lefties very well. Mark Vientos, what's he got to look like for the Mets this season? Matt Shaw is looking like a utility player. Colt Keith, Miguel Vargas, and Willie Castro now in Colorado, sort of rounding out the top 30 at the third base position. What notable dart throws would you be looking at here?
Yeah, we like Weatherholt, the prospect. I think he looks pretty good. Bohm, I mean, they just can't keep doing this song and dance with him. I don't think he ends the year as a Philadelphia Philly, which I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think a change of scenery for him is much needed.
He was like the RBI leader last year for like the first couple of months, if you remember.
He was. They just hate him. I don't know.
He doesn't really like playing there either, though. If you remember,
there was a bird flipped, right? He flipped the fans. He flipped the fans off, I think.
But he also has the instance where he mouthed like, "I hate playing here" or something like that.
Alec Bohm needs to get out of Dodge there. Durbin, I think, is interesting because he had a good rookie year. He's another guy who just doesn't strike out. He's a very free swinging individual. Decent power for a really small guy. A lot of speed. That's where Caleb Durbin is going to make his presence felt.
He's gonna be hitting at the bottom of that lineup though too.
So looking at roster resource, they have him projected hitting 6th, which is interesting. They don't have Yoshida in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the weird thing with Casas whenever he joins the team, if he joins the team later in the year.
Yeah.
Obviously Durbin could get moved down the lineup, but I don't hate him. I mean, hitting 6th would be very interesting.
Yeah, he doesn't profile as a 6 hitter, but I mean, obviously,
But you kind of need Sedon hitting ninth, right? Isn't that like where Sedon felt like the?
Yeah, I mean he's too, at least for now, he's too inconsistent. I mean, listen, if Yoshida can play this season, Yoshida had a back problem last year, where obviously that he missed a lot of time. He's hitting the ball really well at the World Baseball Classic. He hit the ball really well, limited spring training. If all of a sudden Yoshida is kind of back to being healthy, he is like a 280, 800 OPS guy. He probably slots in better at the top of the Red Sox lineup, and maybe they just push everybody back down, move Trevor Story back into like the 5 or 6 hole, put Yoshida 2, something like that up there.
Yeah, but then somebody's out of the lineup.
Well, that's why they were supposed to trade somebody, and they didn't trade any of them. So because Wilyer, Duran, Anthony, Yoshida is your outfield.
Unless you're playing Sedon at second.
Yeah, you can play Sedon in the infield. Alex Cora has not committed to Marcelo Meyer making the team out of camp yet.
I've seen that.
So Durbin at third, Rafaela at second, Story at short, and you roll that lineup out there. But
well, I know they signed like all these guys. Like they signed IKF, Monasterio. They got in the trade with the Kyle Harrison deal as well, or in the Durbin deal. They came together.
Platoon plays for them though. So.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Durbin should get a like pretty decent leash, especially with Romy out for possibly the whole entire year. We have no idea if Romy's ever going to play. So I think Durbin is like decent. Correa, we know, is just kind of past his prime, but he's going to play mostly every day. He's going to start at short, going to move over to third once Jeremy Pena's back. Dog, I mean, no one expects Ernie to have the type of playoff performance he did throughout the regular season. But he is going to get a chance to play like every day this year, especially with Bichette gone.
Yeah. Obviously, he was not good versus righties, but like really good versus lefties. So.
Yeah. Well, then he turned into Tony Gwynn in the playoffs against everybody.
Yeah, right. Couldn't strike out. Right.
So. The most hits ever in a postseason. Yeah, I mean, right. Ernie Clement. So like that's fine. Vientos has no role. I mean, Vientos is gonna absolute platoon guy. Another one that needs a change of scenery.
Yeah.
Shaw got blocked by Bregman. That stinks for him.
And they said he's playing the outfield. Like he's trying to literally learn everything.
Everything. And you know what? Like this would be like we were talking earlier about third baseman that like might only play 4 days a week. Like if Matt Shaw is playing 4 days a week because he can play multiple infield positions and the outfield. And he's being drafted closer to 300 than 200, I would be willing to take a shot because the talent.
I was gonna say this dude was a top prospect last year, right? Yeah. And then he still put up okay power speed numbers by the time the season was over with. But yeah, you have Matt Shaw here. Again, Colt Keith at times last year was really good for the Tigers. And then Vargas and Castro rounded out here.
Yeah, Vargas. I mean, we talked Castro. We talked both these guys actually already. Yeah, Vargas is going to hit in the middle of the lineup and play every day. I don't hate it. Talk about former top prospects. He was one. And Willie Castro gets the Coors bump, but we've said that about a bunch of guys and it never pans out. So, Willie Castro had like 40 steals in a year in a season a couple seasons ago, or 30 plus.
Yeah.
Fast dude. Little pop. I'd be perfectly fine drafting Castro down here.
Yeah, just looking at some of the more recent ADP, because again, a lot of drafts are happening, so some of this is a little bit dated. Josh Young has kind of moved up the board here a little bit. I don't know your thoughts on Josh Young. He would have technically cracked the top 30 here, displacing Castro at the position.
There's two guys that I'm interested by. Okay. One of them is Young. But he can never stay healthy. He's another guy that's already dealing with a spring training injury. I think the other one, John, that I am fascinated by, and he currently only has third base eligibility. He's going to gain outfield eligibility because he's going to start in center field for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Okay.
And that's Jordan Lawler, who's being drafted outside the top 30 right now. at third base. And he basically made the move to center field this spring, and he is still striking out a lot. Dude, he's having a really good spring training, and to be fair, he's had a good everywhere other than the major league. Like he's been good at every level in the minors. And
John's card collection is very well aware of Jordan Lawler's major league struggles. Okay, I've got plenty of those.
He's had a really good minor league career.
We haven't pulled out a card collection here. You keep talking. I'll see what we can find here for Jordan Lawler.
I mean, 6th overall pick going into the 21 draft, 6th overall. He graduated in 25, but he was the number 1 ranked prospect in their org. He was 17th overall. He has 70 speed, 60 raw power tool. Dude, it's very fascinating to see how kind of out it seemed they were, because every time he got called up to the majors, it was just a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And then they decided, like, you know what? He's like really athletic and really fast. Why don't we try him in center? Because he was kind of blocked everywhere.
Yeah.
And he has suddenly kind of blossomed like this spring. Again, striking out a lot. But 348 average so far throughout the spring, 3 bombs, and hasn't even stolen a base. And again, he's a 70 grade speed guy with 330 stolen base seasons on his resume. So
get this up on the screen here. That's a it's out of 20. Jordan Lawler autograph rookie here. Silver signatures of. Just come through for me, baby. Come through, have a breakout season. Let's add some value to that card here. We got this bad boy here. Topps tribute, Jordan Lawler. Okay. This one's out of $299. So yeah, we're invested in some Jordan Lawler shares here from a few years ago that we need to come to roost. So wouldn't mind having a breakout season on Jordan Lawler if he pops up there. Let us know. What third baseman are you guys looking at? Anybody we didn't talk about that you're interested in? Throw it in the comment section. We'll continue with our ADP series. We've done the infield. It's time to move on to the outfield here. We've got a lot of players to talk about in the next couple of episodes with the outfield and starting pitching to come. Probably hit the top 50 when it comes to those positions to break it down for you guys. So hit the like, share, comment button. Appreciate all the support, and we'll catch you guys later.